If you are an English-speaking Go player anywhere in the world, the name Michael Redmond should sound familiar to you, as his appearances as a commentator for a lot of modern matches and tournaments, and his extensive content on the internet made him a main character in the modern Go scene, both in the Western and in the Japanese Go world. But reducing Michael Redmond to the commentator of the Lucidol vs AlphaGo match would be a very big mistake, as his career made him the first and only Caucasian player to ever get to be 9 Dan Pro. The maximum rank of 9 Dan sometimes seems like it is a normal process for every professional Go player, but we oftentimes forget to think about all the pros never having the chance to get to that level. It requires an incomparable amount of time, effort and dedication just to get the opportunity to play a promotion tournament. Something that Michael has achieved and which is not to be considered lightly. Most of the professionals would start Go at a very young age. Nowadays, it is not uncommon to see young promoted players having started as early as 3 years old. Chochi-kun, for instance, was promoted to first Dan at 11 years old, and at the same age, Michael Redmond was only starting playing Go. Michael Redmond was born on May in 1963. He lived with his family in Santa Barbara, a city at the seaside kilometers away from Los Angeles. Michael's father discovered Go from a friend in the 1960s, who supposedly learned it in Europe. He then joined a university club in Santa Barbara. And in the eyes of young Michael Redmond, it seems like a lot of fun, as they were playing all night long, drinking and even partying. So much so that he convinced his father to teach him as he wanted to participate too. And his father was a very strict teacher. They began playing on a 19 by 19 board, something pretty unusual nowadays, as if you learn Go, you somehow started with a small board size like 9 by 9 or even 13 by 13. At first, he would put 9 black stones for his son, but he would kill everything on the board every time. Somehow, I managed not to quit. And somehow, he managed to start winning against his father. Every 2 or 3 games won by his son, he would take 1 stone out of the board. And somehow, Michael was finally able to join the club. There was no internet at that time, no daily Tsumegos app, no beautiful sensei library, no dry run to help you understand the complexity of the game, and not a ton of fancy books translated in English. And the only book Michael's father had was the Book of Tsumegos for 10Q to Lowdowns by Nada Nobuyaki 9 Dan. As he worked through the book in 3 parts, his reading would improve dramatically until it would be better than his strength, which helped him for a long time. One day, when he was 11 years old, Hiwamoto Kaoru 9 Dan came to Santa Barbara in their club. He was putting down Tsumegos on the Go band for people to solve them, until he places the stones to form a Tsumego which no one could solve. Everyone tried different solutions, but after a while, with less than a year playing Go under his belt, he managed to solve it. This problem can still be seen on his Twitter banner, as if it will be the start of his Go journey, as if it would have kick-started his real love for the game. Following this first encounter with what we could call the true magic of Go, he would continue playing in the club and somehow went playing in Los Angeles for a Go tournament where we met Richard Dolan, the man who took Michael away, as Michael's mother, Noni Redmond, would call in a YouTube video relating the events. Richard Dolan had some friends living in Tokyo and would frequently go visit them for some weeks in the summer. Knowing this, young Michael Redmond persuaded this man to go with him during next summer. Richard would only reply that the boy was so talented he had to go to Japan, before offering him to come with him for 6 weeks. right after they landed in Tokyo, they went directly to the Tokyo's Go Association, as at the time it was possible for people to rent a room there. The playing room showed one man standing, playing against 10 others. He was celebrating his new 9-dan promotion, someone told the young Michael Redmond. There was an empty board, and the man offered Michael to sit and play with him too. And so he put down 9 stones, and before starting, he was convinced he would easily win like he did with his father before. But none of that. The pro won by only 1 point. But Michael is now almost certain he let the game be close on purpose. And the boy was really impressed by how good it was possible to get. This game changed his point of view on the game. After that, I was assuming I would be a pro Go player. He had just to now figure out what he should do to make that happen. He should have stayed 6 weeks, but he finally came back after 2 months, the weekend right before school would start. After his trip with Richard Dolan to the country where becoming a professional was possible, he continued going to the Los Angeles Go Club, where he would do pretty well. Later, when he was still a young teenager, it turned out Michael had made an arrangement with Richard Dolan in order to go to Japan again. Only this time, he would go for 1 whole year. He was not finished with his dream to become a professional. His father was a physicist, and his brother was very talented in math. And even if he was above average in school, he thought he did not have the abilities of his siblings in science. This participated in his desire to pursue a Go career, which was not possible here in the US, as the 3 main countries where Go is a main part of the culture were and still are Korea, China, and Japan. His mother was against him going physically so far away, but unlike her, his father somehow approved his choice as he saw Japan as a land of promise for Go, and as an opportunity for him to learn a new language. A friend of Michael Redmond, Robert G. Terry, wrote in an article, Michael's innate talent for Go had been apparent for some time. The question was whether that talent was great enough to make up for the late start he had in learning the game. The standards for those aiming for a professional career were much more severe. Michael would have to prove himself to professional players who would give him no free pass. In Japan, the Nihon Kin saw in the young man an opportunity, as his teacher was known to travel the world in order to spread the game. This was a chance for them, as there would never have been another Caucasian young player before Michael. He became an insei for the Nihon Kin at 14 years old, being a pupil of Oeda Yusuke 9-dan. He only came back in his home in Santa Barbara 5 years later, and told his father how much he would like to come right back to Japan in order to become a professional Go player. Nevertheless, his mother would not approve his choice, as she would have thought he would have a sort of normal career, being a student like everyone else.
But he was determined, and so Peter put it to me that I couldn't stand in his way when this is what he wanted to do. It's his right to choose. And if I loved him, I would let him go.
In our modern era, going away for so much time can be somewhat easier, with all the communications possible and the illusion of proximity it grants us. But Michael's parents, Peter and Noni Redmond, did not hear from him and did not see him for 5 whole years. Life, as a Go player, trying to make a career out of it, is brutal. There's no way around it. No matter where you come from, it is a career that takes away children from their parents, as it consumes all the time they have. But it is beautiful, as the elegance of the game never seems to stop amazing me, even if I am only an amateur trying to grasp what is only the surface of the Go ban. I cannot imagine what had felt Michael Redmond's family, but I also cannot conceive all the grace he had found choosing his career in playing the game at his level. After 4 years in the country, he managed to live his dream as he got promoted to 1-dan professional in 1981. and successfully became 2 dan the same year. He then got promoted to 5 dan in 1955, 8 dan in 1996, and finally 9 dan in 2000, making him the first and only Western Go professional to become 9 dan. Since then, he opened the way to many other professionals coming from everywhere in the world, but still remains the only one to ever be 9 dan. During his career, he made it to the semi-finals of the Gosei in 2003, reached the quarterfinals in the 36th Tengen in 2010. He was also one of the 16th participants in the final tournament of the 15th Chudan. But in his early career, he got hold of 2 major cups, with the 9th Yuran Cup in 1985 at 22 years old, and the 17th Shinjino in 1992. All of this should make you understand that he is not your average commentator, and his strong style and crazy reading abilities made him win against the top players in the world, like this game against Jochikun, where we won by 3.5 points. Michael Redmond has since then participated in making Go accessible to anyone no matter his level, and is the author of multiple books, such as Slate and Shell, written in 2002, and Patterns of the Sanwensei in 2011. He taught Go in classes for young and old people, even for university students. But at the modern age of internet, we can find his Twitter account filled with incredible tsumegos and tesujis every day. He even collaborated with the American Go Association's YouTube channel, with, for instance, the series AlphaGo vs AlphaGo with Chris Garlock, which retraces 50 games played by AlphaGo against himself, where Michael Redmond beautifully commentates from his professional point of view. And even his family got involved, as her mother had the idea to create the Redmond Cup, which the Redmond family organized in order to encourage play among grade school children and to discover excellence among North American youth players. It is now the longest running and most prestigious youth tournaments in the US. He even started a YouTube channel filled with more knowledge that you would ever need when starting Go.
I still enjoy Go, so I'm doing something with Go, just dealing with it. And nowadays, with the COVID virus and staying home and all that, I felt that I was losing contact with Go players, other professionals, as well as the fans. So I wanted to do something to reach out, and I had always wanted to do YouTube. So I started YouTube because of that. And once I started it, I found that it was very challenging and time-consuming, and also very interesting.
Despite where we came from, Michael Redmond's love for the game made him a powerful player, who managed to show the world that you can be a professional Go player no matter where you come from. He had been a big part in the Japanese Go culture, as well as the English-speaking Go culture. And for what he had done for the community, I would like to say on behalf of the amateurs following his lessons, thank you.
Then you should just study what you enjoy most, because I think people learn a lot when they're having a good time. And so, like, there are people who like to do life and death problems, there are people who like just to watch professional games, people who like to play themselves. I think that Go is such a deep game that you can continue getting better just doing what you enjoy about the game. Like, professionals have to cover everything. Like, we can't afford to have a weak spot. So we study everything, but I don't think that's true of amateur players, because you're not going to run out of things to learn, even if you just do stuff that you enjoy. So I think enjoying it is the most important part.